updated their ETF proposal to allow for cash redemptions. So BlackRock has updated its proposal filing for a spot Bitcoin ETF to allow cash redemptions in a move which could help it secure an approval with the US SEC. Feds Barkin has now finished his interview on Yahoo Finance.
Hello, hello. You guys hear me? Mario is actually hopping on today, so I'll trade with you guys for a bit, but not a full session, because he'll be here around 12:30. Looks like our low held overnight. You love to see it. I actually took an overnight long on my personal account, so we're right back up to the highs from where we thought we would bounce. So you love to see that. I just risked off that position. We'll see what happens. Ideally, we hold 803 here and then push up into 808, 810. Barkin's talking right now, but I'd love to see a move like this where we are able to hold this 803 level. Previous seller becomes supportive. We look for the push up and then the hold. You don't want to see this push below and then offer down. We'd like to see this build and then pop like this and then retest this. That's our high. We might need to just come back down if that does happen and 803 becomes resistance again on a look below. This is kind of our new oscillation until then, right? So you really would love to see 803 continue to stay bid and then push off. If you did buy based off of our chart from last night of the pullback in from 89s, you do most likely want to be risked off into the all-time high, right? Until we see a push and hold outside of this region, we need to respect this 803 to 810 as supply. We have a decent trend. We've got some nice momentum kind of going, right, into the morning session, but again, you just need to respect that this is the all-time high, and until we show that as like supportive and kind of like push out of this and make a node, you want to just move your stops up. Russell's still holding, pushing. NQ holding our 803. I'd love to see that 808 target hit, but we need to see NQ bottom out here. We're reliant on the Russell right now for upside. Let me do an update in minutes, 3 minutes. Alright, I'm just taking a screenshot for intraday ideas. Morning, Cass. ESH updates. We're 7, 8, 9. 5. Out. Oh yeah, nothing new. It's the same plan as yesterday, right? Just really want to see that 803 defended for that push up into that 808, 810.
So seeing Brent crude futures rising $1 to a session high of around $78.98 a barrel.
I'm gonna change how these imbalances look. It makes the chart so messy. There we go. It's better already. I only show the 15-minute. I only have text for the lower time frame. Everything else is off. It just shows me where they are, but it only marks and zones out the 15-minute ones. Everything else is, this is like, the white box is your 15-minute halfway back. So it's just the midpoint, and then everything else is just, yeah, nothing. Just like change of characters and our targets from stacked. I risk off into 808. As we come up in an approach Klopix high and NQ, that'll be our first sign to see if this makes a lower high or not. Right, like if this push into this rejects, we've got a node here, and we have a node that we're building out here. So we have to get back above this for a push up into our pivot zone above on NQ. If not, right, then this is going to reject, and then it'll be a lower high confirmation, and then kind of a push back down. And we can see like the Russell starting to lag as well. And if NQ lags as we push into that pivot, that'll mark that ES high. So just, we want to see a bounce here on the Russell soon, because if both of these start to fall, there's no reason to expect ES to continue up. Deltas look fine still, but we are starting to see a lagging on RTY, which is leading up on the market, right? And we want to be paying attention. I longed NQ yesterday into our pivot when I risked off our short as an overnight play. And there's target here. So I am in from the low yesterday when we made the plan. I just risked off one. So I'm not taking any trades. I'm just here to guide you guys for a little bit, even though the plan was already set in intraday ideas, and it's the same levels, and it's the same everything. But there's not much for me to do personally. And here's that rejection we were looking at on the on NQ, right? Let me just move this up to that ETH level itself. So we need to see the Russell be able to push over this high here if you want any sort of more continuation. And we need to see NQ get over this ETH high, or this will kind of be our topping signal at this 808 to 810. Until this becomes supportive, you kind of have to just assume that this is it. So I would definitely be moving up stops and be looking for price to kind of build out in this area. As long as the Russell is holding, I think this 36.5, and NQ is able to kind of build, I would say, within, I'm just going to mark this like that, so that we have a better idea that this is where we're looking to kind of just like bounce around in between. Pick some of these levels. Okay. That's like our current range, and we need to be able to push above and then hold that as supportive, that push into that 10 to 25. Until then, we're just battling for that Globex high on NQ, and we're at that 808 on ES. So I need to see if the Russell can actually push above this previous high and give us some momentum to carry on, or if we just kind of like chop around here. Not too sure as of yet. But this does make for a good screenshot of an update, because we just did the thing that I posted about. Or 803 held bid and pushed into 3808 target. There's high. Yes, sir. Now you just have to see if this thing will double bottom here, as ES comes back down to that 803 that we're looking for it to be defended. And remember, like, the Russell is what was leading the market up, right? So you need the Russell to find the bottom for this to confirm the low on ES and NQ as well, unless NQ is going to start to take control. So I think that looking to risk off in this like 801 to VWAP area is probably your best bet for a liquidity grab if 803 fails, right? We're looking for this box here, I think, for a liquidity grab and then a pushback over 803. So if 803 doesn't hold his bid, you're looking for a pop below, right? And then a pushback above. And then you need to contend with this 803 level, but ideally we then are able to hold and then push back up into this range. If this 803 does not hold, that's what you're kind of looking for. Something like that. Again, just wait for the Russell to kind of show that it wants to put in that low, because that was our momentum mover that marked the bottom for this push up, this rally. So you need it to participate. Delete that because that did not play. We're now just watching to see if this double bottom holds on NQ. So this is your battle. And this is continuation. But if you took the short from 808 to 810, right, like, feeling pretty good. See if the Russell can bottom out here. You show SPY. Oh, sorry about that, Faron. Was ES good enough for you, or do you need me to show? I don't chart SPY usually, but it's the same levels as ES in the sense of price action, so it should be. You're basically just watching to see if this 803 can hold, so we can look on SPY. Duplicate. See how it's like basically the same thing here. basically it for SPY. You're just looking for that 73.04 to hold. If it doesn't and that becomes offer, then you look for a push down to at least 72.82 and for the middle of that imbalance fill. And that's your first look to see if we get a buy on a push below, where you're looking for a move down into this, a bid, and then you have to contend with this as our previous high. Oh my god, what am I doing? And then you're looking for acceptance back above for a full rotation back up, or for this to fail, fall below, and then pop down for a move back up to here. This is just like basic movement inside of an imbalance as we fell it. So this becomes our point of contention at the high. And you need to see a push above this 73.60 level for any sort of upside, or this will just be our seller reoffer. And then we're just rotating in between this area. And if we push below this 72.57 level, then you look for a push down to fill this structural gap down at 72.10. Why is this thing so confused? Yeah, if you could throw us a like, that'd be really appreciated. Helps us out. Morning, Izzy. Yeah, you just have to see a push above opening range high and show if all we're looking at is this opening range high to Globex high as a zone. and you need to see that become supportive, and then you can look for a push up into like 10 to 25 where ADR is. Until then, we're just kind of viewing this as the current range. Mark this out like this. So you just have basically a balance area. I feel like it's pretty easy to visualize if I do the color scheme like this, where we're just looking at this as an oscillation, and until we see a break and hold outside of this area, right, and a pop, you need to accept that this is kind of where our selling is taking place. And then we look for potential holds into the mid here, but we are looking for buys specifically into these lows if it happens again. So we're coming up to test our NQ Globex high, basically the top of our oscillation, as ES is testing our 808 to 810 area, which we're considering basically hard resistance until that showed is supportive, and then we can look for ADR up at like 812. But you need the Russell to find this low, or you're gonna be really dependent on NQ for this pop up, which is fine, right? But just understand that as that is approaching our resistance here, you don't have NQ support to push this up. So you need the Russell to find a low here to carry on this market momentum to the upside. You don't need NQ to sell, you just need it to kind of chop sideways as the Russell comes into this low to start to take off some of that selling pressure and then pop, right? Well, that's all we're looking for here, to continue this trend upward. If like NQ is unable to get over this, right, then we lose all of that upside momentum if the Russell continues to sell. That's it. Right, you need the bottoming here as we come up into this pivot so that we have dual strength, right, Russell and NQ to push price up and break us out of this higher time frame resistance. If that can occur and we get a pop on both of these, right, then we get a break above. If both come into resistance and they both fail on buy side to show a low or break out of this high, then we will look for a pushback below 808s and then kind of a reversion back down to the bottom of our range. Well, it's not divergent to NQ. The Russell's just leading, so it's pulling back to a point where NQ is the thing that's divergent. You're thinking about it in inverse. What's carrying the market today? What is ES following? Right, in that sense. So like, as soon as the Russell gets a pullback, it's still bullish in its overall trend. It's doing higher lows, and it's in a buy-side liquidity zone. So this isn't bearish, it's pulling back to where buyer value is. whereas NQ is sideways and clearly in balance, whereas RTY is in a trend. You see how we're putting in higher lows, whereas this is holding our highs and our lows? So one has momentum, the other is balanced. So we wait for the thing that has momentum to pull back to a level where buyers are interested again, and then we get movement. And we watch the thing that has momentum to carry on for upside action, and we watch our pivots on the thing that's balanced for our highs and lows to determine where we should be looking to enter for ES. Right? One is an oscillator, and one is a momentum indication. So we're looking for a pullback level for the overall trend for ES for the breakout of the range, because we know that this thing has been leading the market up. So we're watching for these higher lows, for this imbalance fill, for a pullback, for continuation of the market. But we're watching these pivots to tell us when the selling is probably going to cease and we can get movement up or down. Right, that's the thing in the morning where you just watch to see which one is the one that actually is pushing market up and which one is in kind of a balance, to give you an idea of what the state of the market is and what needs to happen. Just moving this over. Morning, Jason. Get my phone. I don't know how much more upside we see today. We're like at all-time highs, and we're now seeing delta divergence. Until you see that hold above 95s on NQ, and then like a bid off of that level, I do think that this is the top of our oscillation. And we'll see what happens, but like I just wouldn't be expecting too much more upside unless we get like a punishment from like a sell.
So just taking a
who's
look at the fear and greed
offsides.
index, currently at 78 out of 100, signaling extreme greed, and the crypto fear and greed index at 73 out of 100, signaling greed. Just taking a look at the VIX, currently at 12.43, so that's down around 1.1% on the session so far.
We'll see what happens, but you now have like the Russell not being able to get back over this node. And we're at the high of our oscillations. So again, I don't think that there's really a long here until we show these resistances as supportive. I think this is just your edge high. You're going to really need to see buyers step up here if you want this to continue. This is one of those sessions where I think that you need to be pretty, if you're not in from lower, and if you're not willing to wait to short for a lower high and reoffer, you can get really screwed this session trying to either, one, play the breakout as a bull who missed the move up, or two, as a seller trying to short the all-time high, and then buyers being able to just kind of chop up here and then push you off sides later in the day, right? Because both are impatient. Does that make sense? So you really need to see a break. Like, we have an area where we're expecting a sell to occur, but until we lose this momentum, buyers can be pretty passive here and just hold us within this balance, and the sellers really never get the move that they want, and then we can get a squeeze for continuation in the next couple days, right? You need aggressive, confident selling to occur in a break of a trend and a clear showing of their hand above this node to really set the stage for a pushback down, or you're not really going to get much, right? Because all we're doing right now is oscillating between these two pivots until we break below on either side or break above on either side and show a very clear hold or a clear push below. You don't really have much on sell side yet. Like, yes, in the overall scheme of things, it makes sense to short here, but will it be a good short now? I don't have the answer for you, right? All we can look for are areas where we're expecting resistance, like we are now. We want to see this Globex high become our reoffer on a look below for a strong move back down, and then we can play this range. But until we break below key levels or break above key levels and show a strong bid up or a strong push below and then hold, you are trading in a balanced range that is showing, as of right now, pretty lackluster selling at the highs. And that could be to trap both sides, right? You're going to have bulls who are like, oh shit, this is the all-time high. We can break out. We can go for way higher prices, and so you can trap them on that side, and then we don't do much. And you can also have sellers who are like, yeah, this is an easy area to short, and like then we don't get the movement, right? We just get the balance, and then we don't get a decision until tomorrow or later in the day today. So you want to be very careful with your positioning and waiting for a loss of momentum in the overall market and then a push in a direction, or you can get really screwed on both sides of this trade. I don't mind putting risk on at opening range high and a push below Globex for a short back down, right? But we're playing a very clear range, right? We have our opening range high here, we have our opening range mid here in our view up, and we have our opening range low at the lows, right? So like we have levels to play off of, and until you see acceptance above opening range high and a bid, you don't have a long up here. I'm sorry to tell you, unless you're willing to play off of, like this 78, 76 level. I think if we lose this area right here, that you then traverse back down. I think that this is your pivot. If this becomes offer, then we get a push down to these lows again. But like, just know where we are in the overall scheme of things, and don't be that guy who is trying to go for the all-time high breakout on a 1 minute chart. You know? Like, we gave the low yesterday. It's not my fault you didn't listen or didn't put any like action into it. So now you have to be patient and wait for acceptance either above or acceptance below. There's your SPY chart that we just did. Hold of our level, push off, and continuation. But yeah, I don't really know if there's gonna be a ton here until I'd watch this 76 to like 80 area, just because that's where our Depop is, right? Our POC from the shift. And so we can use this as our pivot if we look at this as a distribution. If I zoom out a bit, right, we have a very clear balance. And we need to see a push below this point for a push back down into the lows of our
According to a
value in
German
the tail
government
of this distribution.
spokesperson, Germany's lower house of parliament is expected to vote on the 2024 budget at the end of January.
So I'm just going to mark this as pivot zone.
So the upper house are to vote on the 2024 budget on February the 2nd, 2024, according to a German government spokesperson.
Does it make sense what I'm talking about? Or like, are you guys understanding? Is it like these concepts? Are they starting to like? Are you getting more comfortable with the ideas and the understanding of like the risk? Okay. Yeah, so these are kind of your pivots on the Russell. Should be pretty self-explanatory. We have to recover this node here for upside movement, or this is just our seller reoffer at a lower high, right? Where our POC shift is. So we've marked that area because it's where our node is above that we're hitting our heads on. We have a node below where price built, where our previous sellers were, where buyers are now currently. So until we push below this level and lose this as our buy side, there's not much here. This is our low, right? And we're just oscillating between these 2 points. But if we push below and it's reoffered, then we look for it to return to mean back down to our VWAP. And then we watch for a reaction there. Do we do a full oscillation back down to our previous high, right, in our Globex high, and this POC shift that's down here, where we know we can, we've defined this from yesterday as our buyer POC, right? So this would be a return to value. And until we get below that, you have to kind of consider that as the low, right? So we have our ranges, our zones, and where we're expecting price to oscillate on a push below or above. And that's just how I look at this market from this point. And now we just trade in between these nodes and we watch for what happens on these reactions. Yeah, until we see a strong seller step in, we will have slow chopping trend to the upside. Just continuation of where we're going, right? That does not give confidence to sellers for a push down, right? We need to see a strong seller show their hand in a lower high form and then lower lows, right? And then a rejection and reoffer off the previous buying level. If all we're getting is slow grind up, that's not a market that you want to be in as a short seller, because there's too much that can go wrong. You need to see someone step in first and then trade with them. And as of right now, we haven't seen someone who has been willing to push price down or hold us down, right? So you have no one to play with other than an ego-driven play that this is the top and that you should be shorting. So until we see someone that you want to participate with, you don't really have a great play other than just trend continuation. And it's awkward to try not playing at an edge and being at the top, right? So I think like the 803 level was a great level to play off of that we did earlier in the day. And you could probably do the same thing for this 808 pivot that we were talking about. But like other than those two areas, there's really not much up here. And now we're like, I think the level in the sand right now for NQ is this 80 to 76 that we marked as our pivot zone. Like you're wanting to see acceptance up here, right? We want to see Globex high on NQ hold as supportive. We want to see buyers willing to hold and buy at the high of this node, right? Where seller value used to be. We want to see this show as supportive, but if there isn't a confident buyer who's willing to buy up here, then we will kind of traverse back down to the lows where value has been found. So you really want to see someone step in here to hold Globex high as support, right? And then push back above. Or we will come back down to the mid. Just like logically, right? Where'd Patty go? I'm so confused. Oh, it's still loading. What the heck? So all we're doing right now is looking to build support at this 808 to 810, which was our previous resistance that we had marked, right? So now we just want to see acceptance up here, just as we're looking for acceptance on NQ at value high of that distribution that we were trading in, the balance. So we're looking to see if buyers can hold this Globex high and play off of it. If not, we come back down to that 76.80 area. It's really that simple. We're looking to see what happens on the Russell as we attempt for this push up. Can we get over opening range high, and can we then, on a look above, bid off of it, right? Do we see the value shift? If we do, then we need to look for continuation. If we don't, then we know that we're still oscillating in this current range and we should respect it. Do we see how NQ's selling, but RTY caught a bid and that made ES just go sideways? So what happens if the Russell rejects here as NQ is also pushing down? Well, then ES will get movement. It's a balance. But like if at this pivot on NQ we get a bounce and ES has been able to maintain its just chopping sideways, and the Russell is able to hold at this high, then we get a pop. And then we show that we're able to hold this 808 to 810 area, and we get continuation up. Right, so here's our bounce on NQ. Let's see if it plays. Or if we push below it, and that's the offer, and then we trade back down to the lows. Yeah, right. And like it's just like as Aram just said, like there you need to see someone's like you're trading with other people, right? With larger size, and until they actually are showing their hand, you're just trading ego. You gotta like actually see the short, the seller that wants to drive price down. You saying that price is too high means absolutely nothing. But like if we're pushing up into the highs on this and the Russell fails to break and NQ is also like we push down. Easy. And all we're looking for is for ES to be able to hold this 808 to 810 as the Russell is able to try to hold the high of this balance between these two nodes, right? We're looking for a break above and hold. And we know that NQ came up to its high, and we're now watching our pivot. And price get above this area now, and can we hold it as supportive on a look above? And then what happens at the high of our value, right? Do we reject on a push back in? Right, from here, do we reject the mid? Okay, or do we reject value high of this distribution, right? If we don't do either and we find acceptance, we look for a push and the ability to hold here for continuation up. Once we've identified the zone, we can watch how participants interact around it and then look to see which way we're going to go. If we know that if price rejects value on the high of the distribution that we usually traverse back down to the mid, and then from the mid we look to the low. Well, now we know, and we have a path and a narrative to follow for where we are looking for our targets, right, for downside. If we're able to push above and then hold value from a look from the other side, and then we're seeing value shift, we can then look for a breach and push out, right? It's understanding why price reacts the way it does in a distribution and where it usually heads. Now all of a sudden you have a game plan. So what does it mean if we fail at value high of a distribution, right? At the high edge of a distribution, push below POC and then reject it? Well, to me, until I see a shift above this area again, I will be looking for the low. Because there's clearly a seller in control. And I need to see a recovery of this zone until I get a different bias, right? Like that's it. It is that simple. If I start to see acceptance below our POC, there's not much to really say here. Right? Like you're looking for a push down because value isn't being found up here. Our seller value is clearly being found. So now you're looking for a push below this and a pop back down to our lows. And then that's where you're looking to transact next. Because as of right now, you're in the mid. There's no clear direction yet. But we do know that we're coming from this direction, right? We know that a seller is in control here. And so we should be wary of the mid because we know that sellers are going to try to defend this level. But we need to be we need to have a tighter stop if you're trying to short from the middle and not the edge high. Man, it is so cold here. Morning, Bark. Buddy, why are you not waiting for us? You're an addict. If you let us know that you're on, right? Like, then we would play with you. But if we don't know, then we're gonna be on like Lost Ark or something. So we can't see it. So you're on PlayStation or whatever. I mean, I'm just saying, it's, hey, if you don't want to play with us, it's whatever. Message received, you know what I'm saying? Probably a warrior. Good job, Izzy. Yeah, well, we're right at the top, right? We're like actually at all-time highs, so it's you shouldn't be expecting much. But what you can play off of is the overall trend is up, right? And so we should be looking for pullback buys until a confident and aggressive seller steps in. We just play the ranges. And until we break out of these like oscillations, there's not really a great sell other than like maybe a longer term look for, you know, a sell. But you can see both sides kind of just getting screwed today, looking for FOMO. And now we're right back up to our risk off on NQ. What was covered in class yesterday? Guys, what did we actually talk about? We talked about a bit of the relationships between sectors and the push-pull of the market and looking for relief. We looked at how to play nodes and viewing them as supportive or resistance. And then like looking at how to find value below and when to try to kind of shift our narrative. Is that a good summary of what we talked about in class? Yeah? Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's about it. But it was just me, so it was just a SIG rant class. So be prepared. I think it like ran like an hour and 20 minutes or something. It's on YouTube though. But I think it was pretty good. Seemed like all of some stuff clicked for people. Yeah. Well, see, the problem is like the only thing I can teach is how I trade, and I've been trading the same way for quite some time. So like at some point, it's gonna be the same stuff over and over again, where I'm just like begging for you to actually apply it, and so some of it's going to sound very familiar, you know, because like I'm not changing up what I'm teaching because it's how I make money, right? So it gets frustrating for me because I feel like I'm not offering much new in that sense. But if it's helpful, it's helpful.
So oil prices extend gains, WTI futures rising by over $1 a barrel. Oh yeah, honey wheat twist pretzels. Those are the best. I could eat a whole bag of those without even realizing it. Try to like take the it's like a how do I it helps. Never mind. I'm gonna say it. Sounds super autistic. Thanks for the help on RTY. Yeah, no problem. It's one of those things where like it's no, you're not annoying, man. It's just like I don't know how to word things better than I already am, right? Because like to me it clicks, but like it's not going to click to everyone, and that's not like a deficiency. That's just a lack of. That's me not being able to articulate well enough, right? And I need to just find better ways to say what I'm thinking, you know? What's the alpha? Oh no, I'm just like a bit like I will with like the honey twist, man, you try to like break the spirals, you know what I'm saying? Like the three pieces that are all connected, you try to get that singular one, and you'll eat the whole bag trying to accomplish that. Just trying to get, yeah, man. And if it breaks, you got to do it again. Always so, yep, exactly. And then you just have eaten a whole bag of pretzels. It's, you're trying to perform surgery on that pretzel with your with like three teeth.
I mean, come on, man. Good morning, good morning. So you have to kind of view this as the top, right? But what we're looking for is buyers to find acceptance between this 89 to 95 area. As long as we're trying to build above Globex high, there's a chance for continuation upside on NQ, right? We're just trying to find supportive bids at the high of this range and build out this node. So you don't really have a way to look for shorts until we either get up to that like that 10 to 25 area above us, or a look below Globex low at that 89, and then that to become the offer, right? As we have drawn. So all we're looking for here is the ability for buyers to hold and maintain higher lows, equal or higher lows. If we push below, then we can look to traverse back down through the range. But as of right now, you just kind of have to look and see if buyers are able to hold up here for a push higher. Yeah, I have. So it's an accomplishment. I had an
This
X
is
where we
research
would
from Goldman Sachs on the Red
we
Sea
both get a
holdups.
bag.
So Goldman Sachs
Battle
used
it
local
out.
crude price impact from the Red Sea tanker disruptions
So
to put into heavier
autistic,
blasts. So it
Jesus.
says that OPEC Plus is adopting a wait and hope strategy for next
It'd be
year.
like watching a movie and both be trying.
So the Goldman Sachs analysts, including Bruce and Stuyven, say that disruptions in the Red Sea are likely to have a large impact
What?
on crude and
did I
LNG
say?
prices. So some contradictory views within Goldman.
Like I have what is it called when you like misremember
The
something?
US are to sell $80 billion
Where you
in
were, like,
4-week
so
bills on December
sure
21st, settling December
it's true.
26th.
It's something effect. I can't remember. But like to me, I look at bugles now, and I'm like, how did these ever fit on my fingertips? The Mandela effect? Okay. Like, I swear they had to be bigger. Yeah, like, look at that. That's not what they look like now. Yeah, no, not even kind of. Like, not even on the pinky, man. Like, it is completely changed. No, yeah, not at all. I'm just gonna shift these nodes over so that we understand we're still just not finding acceptance above on the Russell. Back up to the highs. I will be right back, guys. Alright, my bad. Yeah, there's not much up here after the bounce point on SPY from that low or the hold of that 73.66. That's now your pivot, right? Where the previous seller was, you're now looking for buyers to be active. I feel like I need to change. I wish TradingView had a like dynamic color flipping box where like if price was above, it shifted to a different color. That'd be cool if they could figure that out. So what I want to do is... Oh, I did the wrong thing. Background, extend rates. Right, we clearly have a seller here. It's trying. And then we have a buyer. And now this is your buy area. So until we get back below that, and then we see the seller there in the exact same position on a reoffer, you have to consider this as your low. But I don't really have a good gauge of like where we're going. Let's see. Seller reoffer here. All-time high here, and then let's put a fixed range on this. Okay, there you go. What does Smash have as his upside target here? Let me check. So Smash has 28 above as his next target for ES on a hold of basically this 8 to 10 area. So that's what we'll be looking for as well, I guess. As long as this 808 to 810 is holding, we'll be watching for a push up into this. At our pivot on NQ here, at our 710, we need to see a push above that for a push to 25s. Until then, This is kind of marking where our next selling level is. Now we're just oscillating between these two zones. Need to see a push above and then a hold for a push into 25. So what did we just do? We built out. Let me zoom out. We held the high, right? Which is all we wanted to do. As long as we're holding the high and building acceptance up at where seller value used to be, we can then push out of this area and then drift until we find a new area of interest, right? Where sellers are willing to be like, okay, this is too much. We need to now risk off here. Or we need to, this is value, right? So we'll be watching what happens up into this 25 where our ADR is, and look to see if off of this push up, if sellers want to maintain ADR today and push back down. We won't want to be looking for any longs until a push above this 25 pivot. If you're not already in, we're basically watching for this move up. So this will be your breakout confirmation on a push above. This hold on Globex high was solid, right? And now we're looking for a pop up. I think you can now probably play off of this node. We can delete this now that we've built up some structure up here. And this still applies, where we'll be looking for a push below if we find acceptance at the low of this node. I'm gonna look above, look down below, and then we look for the offer here for rejection of this node for continuation down. Back down to this box. What did I just delete? Okay. So you'll be looking for buyers to be willing to defend this for a push up, and then we look for a pop. So I'm just trying to clean this up as I go. There's like the narrative of me explaining where I'm thinking price goes, and then there's the actual pathing that we need to really hone in on. Okay, good. That sounds amazing, Tom. Our ES hold of 808 though, playing, hitting off of the 10s, pushing, looking for that 21st, and then 28 above that. Russell looking to find acceptance at the high of our range. Not bad, but we need to see what happens into 43.1 as we retest the highs. But really nice look above and hold of this. It's doing the thing. Just need to see if we get continuation on a retest of the highs. I'd be watching for pullbacks again into this area, or acceptance above 10s and the ability to bid off of it on a look above, right? So we're looking for either this or a look down into this and then a bid off of that. I'm gonna delete this chicken scratch now, just so that you have like an idea of the two areas. So we understand that this is our seller, so we need to see a look above and then a bid at where our seller previously was located on the DOM. And then as soon as we do that, we then don't need those larger pullback. think everything's at a solid enough place. Let me change this so that this isn't so yellow. What's up, Gav? Good morning, good morning. I don't know how much more longer I'm going to be on. Again, Mario will be on soon. So I was just covering for him, and the only reason I'm here is because I promised you guys yesterday that I would stream. And then Mario told me he would be here, so I didn't want to lie to you. That's basically it. Especially with the YouTube stream not working yesterday. So again, NQ came down into the fill this LVN. Need to see if that was enough of a test off of that wick, or if we're still going to need to drift down a bit further. But all I'm watching is, can we now hold this upper edge of this node, right? That's all we care about, is can we find buyers now at this 1700 to like 97 area, just as we've had drawn. And we need to see if this is enough, if buyers are willing to buy here now based off of this previous balance that we just built out, and if we can push back above this node here and find support. I think I should probably change this to look like that. Do we see how we're just filling structure though? So we have a node above our heads here, and we have a node below us here. And we are now filling out the structure in between. And we're looking for buyers to be willing to buy here for a pushback above, and then we want to see acceptance here, and then we can get the ability to kind of continue up. Sorry, I'm just trying to clean this up. I hate when I do my crayon drawings with the pen tool. Always looks so bad. Yeah, this is just the visible range on the side. And then I have the session HD on, but the only thing I have turned on for that is the developing POC for the day. And that's this line here. So it just shows me as price kind of, as value shifts, I'll get a line to find that area. But I really only, this is gonna be kind of counterintuitive to a lot of you, but like I watch how we build in a very small amount of time, right? Because I just care about what people are doing currently, right? So it's I'm kind of using it as like a shoddy footprint in a sense of like finding out where people are positioning themselves volume wise, and then watching our nodes above and below on reactions, and then looking at those areas of interest, looking at that as areas of interest basically of like where we need to either recover or where I expect price to kind of push down into, based off of like where our node edges are. And then I just kind of mark those on our chart, and then we go from there. So this one is just the VRVP, visible range volume profile. So this is only showing the volume profile for the candles that are visible on my chart in this frame. I'm losing my voice already, and it's Tuesday. Not a good sign. So you really, really, really want buyers to be able to hold here. This is like your last stand, in my opinion, at Globex high. Like if this looks below and then retests, then we look for that shift down to 76s. This is a quite the sell on NQ. You really wanted to see buyers be able to maintain that edge. So failure here basically showed that there was zero interest, right, at these higher lows where we saw bids previously. And now you're looking to see if these buyers are going to become offsides, which is what we have drawn out. So it's actually a pretty interesting area to look for either direction, because we are looking to see if either buyers can recover this level and then bid off of it again, right? We've seen this now occur twice. So if these guys are now offsides and we have a bunch of buyers who are offsides looking for higher, and we have shorts that have now pushed price below all of this liquidity, we now have a level of reference where we're watching to see if sellers can now hold this node, right? Where buyers were positioning. And if they can now offer this area and we fail to look back above and show a bid, we now have the ability to reverse all the way back down. So it's an area where I'm going to be really paying attention to this Globex high to O or H area. See if we can get the short for a pushback down to at least this box. For you to be bullish here, you would have to see a buyer step in and really push back above this and then show their hand. Or this is just a pretty clear, cut and dry buy has now flipped to sell. So we'll see. And you can see like the node pretty clear here where we can push up, and if we get above and hold, then we can fill back up to here. So we're just like battling it out, seeing which side can hold on a look above or below.
Commentary from Maersk, who have said that they're stopping their shipping along the Red Sea amid disruptions as one of their vessels was attacked. It says Red Sea disruptions could add 2 to 4 weeks of shipping delays.
I'd be looking for a sell here if it was going to occur. And then we are looking for a push under. God, I'm actually losing my voice. A push under Globex high for confirmation to continue the lower highs. So this is just seller reoffer, filling up that LVN. But now you need to see a look below, or this can pop back up. I need some tea. He comes on at 12:30 usually these days. I'll start to be bearish if we fail to breach back over this node and pop over this 10 and then lose this 89 for that push down. So then it's like a clear failure at the highs. We've probably trapped enough buyers. Until then, we really do just have a range, right, where we're oscillating between these two areas. Where I want to be attempting at this edge with a stop at like the high of the day, right? Once we're close. But like if we are able to build and recover this, you have to be very careful. So it's all about just like looking at where our celery offer is and then looking for price to be able to shift below and then take out these recent buyers. So we know that there's a buyer present here and that there's liquidity here. So we need to now push below this, or this will just be our higher low building. Something you can do to, you can just put an AVWAP on, right? And it'll show that imbalance as well. So you need to see the push below that area, or that'll just be a pullback buy. To me, it looks like a seller is really trying to create these lower highs and push price down. And I think you just have to be a bit flexible with your positioning until we see a breach above and hold. Like, you have to kind of just acknowledge that there is someone trying, but we need to lose this low and then show this as a strong sell here for me to like be confident in the position. First where you can only whisper. Ugh. It would be funny for a bit, and then I'd be annoyed, personally. I mean, I'm sure they slapped kids. But $2.50 for a cookie? So retesting our Globex high here on NQ again. This is your pivot. You need to see acceptance below this. Yeah, the Russell needs to hold here. This is your POC shift. If it can't find the buyer here, then we come back down to the lows of the range. You need to see someone try to step in here. I feel like I have it pretty clearly marked on our ES chart that I posted, where we're looking for this 12 to basically stay bid for a flag. Right, just acceptance up at the highs from our previous sell. If you want to be, right, like these sellers are here. We saw a look below, a bit above, the ability to then hold. Clearly an auction pivot. Now we're just looking for the ability to kind of like defend this level for a push up or a push below and then oscillate back down into these lows where value was found previously. QQQ. I don't have QQQ marked. But yeah, I can do it real quick. It's not hard. Give me a second though. probably it, man. You basically just want to see that 408.33 to 45 hold as supportive. We have a value area there, so it's our POC to value area low. So we want to see this continue to hold. If this ever goes off sides, then you have a ton of liquidity that's now off sides, and we look for a reoffer on a test from a look below for a push down to where previous value was found. Until then, you're basically oscillating in this range, right? Where we know we have a strong seller above, and we have lower highs being put in where the offer is kind of pushed down. So we want to be first looking to risk off at this 408.71, understanding that on a larger push, we are looking for that 408.86 to 94. And until we get above that, there's not much there. But that's basically how I would do this chart. Yeah, sure. I mean, we just did this pretty quick, but hopefully that was a good... I'm just watching me do that, like how I look at levels. This also has SPY on it. If you... There you go. The SPY chart is definitely not as in-depth as what we just did, but general ideas there. We can apply the same logic with just a fixed range up at the highs now. We're watching to see if this now holds. Here, so I'll save it like this, so that you have both QQQ and SPY. I'm just shifting these over because they still apply. This is your first risk off, really. It's top of the range where you expect sellers to try to reload. You want to see a push and hold over the 707 for any more upside, or this is just going to be where, again, you can just put a fixed range on here to get the same results as to what I'm watching. But this is where you expect your first sign of like selling, right? This is the value low of this range up at the highs. And we're watching this area above be where sellers are basically positioning themselves for this look below. Here, I'll just shift this so it looks like that. Maybe that'll be easier. So this is your reoffer on QQQ, Garoto. You need to see a look above and then hold. We know that a seller is positioned here, but we should be able to push and pop unless we push back below 8.7, right? You're just kind of expecting chop here or a seller to show their hand and then push below our previous buy and then continue down. Morning for you always. Yeah, I fixed it. I don't know if funny is the right word, but my mic was super low, 'cause my system input was very low. You have to be very careful with the Russell. It needs to find support relatively soon, or this is going to be seller acceptance below this node, right? Where we're watching now at the edge how we perform, right? Do we traverse back down to this lower value, or can we pop back over opening range high and then bid off of that for continuation? I'm not too sure. Delta doesn't look great, but we are kind of flattening out, so I would like to see us decide in the next couple minutes. I think the slow drift up to this 20 is definitely viable if RTY can just kind of hold here while we do that, but just be very careful because there's like someone clearly in control now on a push down, and that VWAP seems likely if this fails to breach back over opening range high. Our ES levels are playing though, right? We just flagged at our previous sell, found our buyer, pushed up. Not much to really say there. If the Russell, again, I'm really curious about this pivot because if this is our first sign of weakness, that's a good narrative to follow for the short idea for continuation and a break out of this area. Like, this might be our leading signal to downside, just as a like a leading indicator, I guess. You know, I'm gonna be following this quite a bit because we're testing on NQ, right? Our seller again. So until we can push above this, this is just your seller reoffer, and now you have a weak Russell into our seller reoffer. So just like keep that in mind, that we might need to do that drift back down to VWAP before we get another significant buyer if NQ fails to maintain higher lows. Then we have a weak Russell and a weak NQ at the same time into our pivot highs, which could result into kind of elevator down, right, momentum, because we have both sides of the market, both defensive and growth, at a bearish pivot. So it's just one of those things that you want to keep in mind when you start to see that shift. We are still maintaining higher lows though, so just like we're waiting for that break. Either you try the edge, right? You're willing to put risk on at this edge at 710s, or up at this high with a lenient stop, and just kind of being like, yeah, there's some weakness here in the market, right? With our deltas falling, etc., etc. Or you need to wait for a break of the lower highs, or sorry, the higher lows, where we're just channeling up. So either you wait for the trend shift, or you try at the edge highs, and you wait for the reoffer. It's just like, what's your risk profile and what's your narrative and invalidation. And I think it's fine trying at the edge highs, but like you have to have a bit more flexibility with your positioning, rather than like if you're waiting for the break of the higher lows, then it's very easy to know when you're wrong, because your whole entire idea is that we are failing to hold previous buying levels, and then we just watch for sellers to be there, right? Like it's just, what's your narrative and what kind of risk are you willing to put on? For me personally, I'm more than willing to try at a pivot high on a seller reoffer, because I know that until we push above it, that seller is still in control. I need to see a very clear shift from buyers to let me know that that pivot is no longer valid. And that gives me a lot of flexibility where I don't need to wait for this breakdown or continuation to risk off, right? I can risk off into our first buyer area and still be profitable on that trade, and the uptrend can continue. Doesn't matter to me, right? But like for some people, they might need a bit more validation. But like when I start to see weakness on names that have been carrying the market up, and we're just like retesting highs, it's kind of a no-brainer to me of like what I need to see. And then like this is now your first risk off if you shorted our pivot, right? And until we break below this Globex high, you are just trading in this range. And we look for a continuation on a look below this, and then a reoffer into where these previous buyers were. And that gives us a push down into 76, if that happens. Until then, like this is where we expect some seller relief, where shorts are going to close their initial positioning, which can result in a bit of buying, right, on a close of a short. And then we look for a continuation on a look below, and then a reoffer, or a push back down to a previous area of value. Until then, right, this is where you expect a bit of chop. Battle for a Globex high again on NQ. And you can see like Grotto from the QQQ chart, right? It's just right back to our seller reoffer, and then immediate push down. So like that seller never lost control, and this is why we don't look for breakout plays. We wait for acceptance above so that we can see that that seller is off sides. Or if not, then we just get a full rotation back down, because all we've done is given that seller another opportunity. And we've now caught more people off sides. And now it's the same thing as before, where you're looking for either a recovery of this 408.45 on QQQ, right? This is your test, or this will be our reoffer now, where previous buyers were positioned. You're now watching to see if sellers are now willing to defend this level for a pushback down. And then all of a sudden, everything's a range, right? Everything's an auction with a high and a low of value, and we can trade around that. Either we get a shift outside of this value paradigm, right? Where we then hold the highs or the lows, and then we shift to another auction. But until then, you accept it, you trade the range, you make your money, you compound your gains. Yep. And now you have to be patient, because this is just retesting our ES pivot and our RTY liquidity, right? And retesting to see if we can find acceptance back above our NQ Globex high, where we're watching this node, understanding that if we don't find a strong seller where we currently are, we can traverse back up in this LVN that we've just created, right? Between these two nodes. So either we find a buyer here that pushes back up, and then we have to wait for that seller to either back at this pivot high, or we are able to hold here, our seller is willing to defend, we look for that look below, and then that gives us continuation. Yes, I agree. That is why I like to use it. It is very clear, especially if you're watching the DOM with it. So what we're battling for now here is that 980 pivot to 976 pivot that we have marked, where our developing POC is. What just happened is very important. We saw a shift of the POC to our Globex high at 89 on NQ. So now we have a very tight range, which we're oscillating between our pivot zone here and this ETH high. So until we either see acceptance below this, right, on a retest, or acceptance back above this on a retest, you need to realize that we have buyers and sellers in a very tight range right now, positioning themselves on either side. And we're watching for whatever happens on the reaction on these highs or lows for continuation. So it's a good area to risk off your short into that 76.80 as your first like real risk off. And if we get continuation below, great. Then we can look for a move back down into this 48 to 53. But keep in mind that this whole sequence started on the retest of our seller on NQ up at our pivot at 710, and we saw a leading signal of weakness from the Russell, right? So where are we looking for the Russell to traverse down into? VWAP, right? And into this pivot that we have marked. So as we come down into this area, and we're at our NQ pivot at the lows, and ES is at our 810, 812 area, this is an area where you need to consider risking off shorts or moving your stop down, because this can be a potential area where we see some relief. That doesn't mean that we don't get continuation afterwards on the short side, but it is, if you are following the short narrative, this is where you are expecting relief. That's just, it's that simple, right? It's very cut and dry. So we need to be risking off into that as our first pivot until we see a push below that. We see the push below the Russell VWAP and acceptance underneath. We see a push below 80s on NQ, right? We see a push below this 12 to 10 area on ES. Until then, you have to consider that we might get some chop. I have one runner left on NQ from 706. From last year. Sorry, bud, you missed it. That is over and done with, man. And then longs would only make sense once we see the Russell put in a bottom or a higher low. Yeah, that would be your first sign. With, I think, watching Delta to kind of show this cease of a downtrend, right? This selling pressure to the downside. We want to see either a bottoming of Delta or a higher low kind of start to build off of this VWAP area. Or we will just rotate back down to this 28 to 26 pivot. But yeah, it's a first sign of bottoming makes sense here into this zone. It just makes sense that we have now did our full selling on the Russell back down to where our buyers are. So you need to now not be dumb, right, and risk off accordingly until we see that Russell buyer offsides. There, let me move over our pathing. This is all still applies. I need to start drawing these in one. Doing this on individual arrows is not the move. So, like, do you see how this is our first pullback buyer defense, Grotto? And we've labeled it as such because this is where that buyer was previously. And so we look for that liquidity here again. And we look for a retest back up. Crazy. And it's the same thing on ES, right? Our SPY, where the seller has now transitioned back to a buyer. So until we get below this, you have to risk off here, understanding that this is where buyer value is being seen. I will be right back. Okay. Mullen Automotive reports 1-for-100 reverse stock split. Jesus. Just give up. I feel so bad for those people. Not the like the main shareholders, but like the retail. So many FinTwit people were talking about the value of that company. They're just now all underwater. Yeah, all of those like EVs and car names were like how much value was being found there. It's a classic. FinTwit is the actual worst. Yeah, it's doing fine as of right now. Yeah, you see what I mean? I feel so bad for those people, dude. Ooh. You guys don't remember that squeeze? Like, do you know the amount of people that were caught on the wrong side of that trade? Like, even people who originally made money off of that ridiculous squeeze on Mullen probably tried to re-enter and then lost it all again anyways. Like, it's just not actionable. On Russell, where does the 2037.1 come from for the seller range? Oh, I didn't see the developing. 2039 is the developing. I have that 2039 to 2037.5. My developing here is at 37.2. I think it'll depend on the resolution on the time frame that you're on. So I'm guessing you're on the 3-minute. And we'll see what the shift looks like there. Do you see how we have a shift from that 39? Here, let me turn off all my drawings. So we took the high, that 39.6 from the shift, and then we took the low of that shift, and then we made that a zone where we needed price to be able to push and hold above or below for acceptance. Another way to look at it, if you want, is you take the wick down to this candle wick here, and then you make that your selling range. Right on the from this imbalance that was created from immense sell pressure down, and then we look for a hold above or below that level. But I just looked at the POC shift and then marked the highs, marked those two levels and made it a zone. 2 points of like high volume, you know. Like clearly that's going to be pivotal. They were giving Luna as compensate. Oh no. Yeah, man, that thing was like a Chinese pump and dump case. That was a like full on money laundering. There are even people in this chat that were talking about that garbage. Hell no. I think Flex was one of them. You will never see me touch that. Ugh. That was the name that was like, it was circuit breaking like every 5 seconds, wasn't it? How do you trade that? Just hope? Pray? Yeah, get wrecked, true. Brodo, do you see, I think you're still here, right? You see how buyer demand has flipped, and then on that look below, we then re-offered at that where buyers were previously, and that was your risk off. So we got a shift back down to our previous buyer value, right? Where we thought that we would get a pullback buy, and then your risk off is always going to be on the range retest because these guys are now offsides. So you're expecting sellers to defend here. And now we're looking for the same kind of play to happen again, where you need to see if buyers are willing to defend at these lows. But if we get that look below, then we look for acceptance below and a push back down. And then that creates the exact same situation again. And that gives you that start of those lower highs in that channel forming to the downside, where we get a seller who's pushing value lower and lower. Yeah, of course it was Tom. He loves his squeeze plays. Tom's a gambler at heart. Zoom in on the Russell a bit more? Yeah, sure, man. Did you get your screenshot? Let me know when I can switch back. Here, actually, copy link. There you go. That's probably just easier. But now we're just basically saying, do we find acceptance below this node or above this node? It's your range pivot, right? Where we know that this is the low, this is the high, this is the mid. Are these buyers here offsides? These were sellers that then flipped the buyers, and now we're testing again at this pivot. Is there a strong enough reoffer on the test above, on the look above, to show that sellers want continuation down? And if they do, then we come back down to this previous area of buyers, right? That's it. It's just range oscillations. Either acceptance in the previous range or acceptance back into this one. Yeah. Let's change this color, or at least make it a bit thicker so that it's clearer for you. Do you see why we care about this? We labeled it as buyer POC? Because like if we start to see acceptance below, right, we're going to start to shift, and our final like targeting is going to be back down to this low of this range before we get a decision. So now we have like an oscillation that we can work off of, where we then need to see acceptance below this for further price action, like for further moves, or we will just continue to like develop like that. Yeah. It gets a little messy for me, but I think that, yeah, as long as you're not marking it yourself, then I think the bold makes a lot more sense. But if you're already doing it, then it's whatever. And for me, like, I have to create the zones myself and, like, kind of talk it out so that I have an understanding of why I'm looking at the trades, right? It's part of... If I don't do that, I start to have, like, monkey brain, where I'll try to take trades based off of just, like, you know, oh, green candle, red candle, right? Instead of, like, understanding, actually marking out where value is and then trading that. I don't know. This is a meme from our Discord, but it's like without marking out those zones, right? This is the you see the green candle, red candle, and all of a sudden you start trading like this. As soon as you start to see that, instead of like looking at where value is being found, trade like a monkey. Impulse only. Ooh, I like that, kids. Mario should be hopping on soon, and then I am going to dip so that I can go no life, Lost Ark. So you probably have like 15 minutes with me before he hops on, and then I'm going to end stream. And then the narration will be in Discord for the rest of the day. But I will be here tomorrow, 9:30, 9:40-ish, I don't know, at open. Basically, Eastern. I usually only trade 3 days a week, so it's weird that I'm here. Where did you find this? I like that a lot. Yeah, man, I trade Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If I do every day, my brain will go numb. I really try not to trade on my days off. What's up, Flama? Oh, boy. It'll feel like that for a bit, Grotto, until you just get better at seeing what I see, right? But I'm glad that I can be used as, like,
So
edge
keep in mind now,
in
in
the
10 minutes'
meantime,
time now, at
while
the
you
bottom of the hour,
get more
we expect
experience.
comments from Atlanta Fed President Bostic, speaking on the US economy, the outlook for business, and the Fed's role at a fireside chat at the Harvard Business School Club of Atlanta Alumni Leadership Lunch. So the lunch has already begun, the program beginning, as I said, in just under 10 minutes' time. So keep in mind there's no text, there is a Q&A, but there's no media or webcast link available for this event. We'll be getting the headlines through from the newswires as they come through.
Monkey brain. Monkey brain. Oh, I like this one. Maybe Apex customer. I still can't get over that screenshot. I think it was Adam or Adrian who posted it, where they were like, "Could you please screenshot how you take trades before we'll give you money?" Like, what? Let's see if I can find it again. So absurd. Okay, this screenshot. It's just like, are you kidding me? Wait, this one, and then there's the other one. Where's the other one from Apex? Oh god, it's so good. Let me see if I can find the other one. Where they're like asking for your entire trade plan and like how you take trades. Give me a sec. Oh, where is it? Oh, okay, I found it. What is this?
It's been 5 minutes time now at the bottom of the hour. We expect comments from Atlanta Fed President Bostic speaking on the US economy, the outlook for business, and the Fed's role at a fireside chat at the Harvard Business School. So keep in mind there is no text expected. There is a Q&A, but there is no media or webcast available. We'll be getting the headlines from the newswires as they come.
Great job, Cass. One-day combine. Huge. Actually, Gamba. So can you link the screenshot and YouTube shot as well? Not in the Discord, right? Never mind. Oh, yeah, yeah. But, like, what? Oh, what is this even, like? This is... What? Please provide a brief overview of your trading strategy or system that you can use, any software or auto trading systems that you use, and just general overview of your trading, written explanation of your trading plan, systems with rules explained to include complete entry rules, initial stop, take profit, trailing method written out, as well as an example on a chart screen of your trade shot in place and that meets the criteria, or you won't get your payout. Hello? Yeah. So we can steal it. I like that. That's good. What does your chart say? Did I miss something? Sorry. Memeing. Let me scroll up. 2028 range and 2026.6. Is that from developing POC2 on Russell? My bad, free always. Let me look. I was a bit distracted. 28 to 26. Oh, okay, you're just talking about this low here. We are taking this. This is purely just an LVN. And this is where liquidity was found last time. So this is our edge of value. That's all it is. So this is basically our pivot as will buyers defend this previous low from open, right? Or on a push below it, do we go for the gap fill to fix the poor structure below to this node edge? Do you feel me? So like this is like your last line of defense before we look for a bearish structure fix
comments
into this
from
next node.
Fed's Bostic. So again, no text is expected. There's also no webcast available.
And like that coincides really well with this being value low. So like think about it like this. Either we will hold value, right, and then oscillate back up to our POC here, or we'll look for acceptance below value and then a shift down to where value was previously being found if we can't break back in. So either like we'll continue to range here, right? Or we'll find acceptance below and then we look for previous areas of value. So it just like happened to all kind of be at the exact same area, which made it extra important to me. That also happens to be the middle of your FEG, right? Like the imbalance that was created on the 15-minute. So if we go to a 15-minute chart, you can see that we have this imbalance here, and that your mid is right here of this LVN. I feel like that's like your first pullback level where you'd be looking for buying liquidity if they were going to push below. This is our test here into 35s. Careful on the Russell. This is your retest of this imbalance. So if we were going to hit our head anywhere, you'd be expecting it here at the edge of this node. As the Russell, as NQ comes up to retest NQ ETH GlobeXI, right? So we want to see if on this retest of 35s, if we get a strong seller that pushes price down, and if NQ fails to hold above GlobeXI, then we get a continuation down on ES, right? So this is kind of our pivot where we're expecting a seller to be located if price was going to continue pushing down. So this is where I start to really pay attention. Because if RTY and NQ are both at their pivots and we see a strong seller, and the ES is at a lower high and rejecting our 12, this 12 being our previous seller that then flipped to buy, right? This is that area where we're now watching to see if we continue those lower highs and break down further. And if NQ and RTY are unable to breach, right, then that leads to more downside. So we'll see. Got a nice bottoming on Delta on the Russell, but we do need to see acceptance back over this 35 and then for this to bid. Same with acceptance back over our GlobeX high on NQ and bid. So it just makes for a really solid first risk off area if you long from the lows, or if you're looking to see if sellers are going to continue to push price down. Yeah, no, Apex is fine. I just their customer service has something to be desired. I love that one from Sean, who's just like, dude, I don't care. It's such as like a shift from Top Step, who's like, I'm sorry, that Tradeovate is having issues. Let me fix it for you. And Top Steps are, and Apex is like, dude, we're not Tradeovate. Like we have no control. It's just a very different philosophy. I'm a bit surprised by how much we're drifting up here, actually, on the Russell. Like, it's just a straight shot up. I'll be watching 37s to see if I need to close my final short runner. But this is a bit more than I was expecting. It's like straight up just buy side. Like, no one even trying to contest. See if we get a look back below, and that'll kind of confirm that it would drift back. But you've got POC here at 37. We need to see a push back below Globex high on NQ, and failure to get over this 12.7 or 13 on ES. Just expecting seller reoffers here. This is an interesting shift, though, with the flattening, the basing, I should say, on Russell Delta, and then the push up with like no sort of friction from sellers. See if we can add here. If we get over 95s, I'll close. But I'm willing to try an average here. So I'm in from 06s above on NQ. I'd like to see this become resistance and a push down. I just moved my average from 706, or sorry, 06 to 997 by averaging there. But I'm willing to stop out if this doesn't work. And that'll be my last trade of the day before Mario gets on. So that I can leave. Clean up the charts a bit for you guys before I log off.
I think I made it.
Huge.
We will. How long
Uh-oh.
I make it? But I'm in. Rory, hello.
I'm just waiting to see if I get stopped out of the short or if this is the low. We can push back up. And then I am out of here.
A couple stacks, Rory. Just a couple stacks.
Jesus.
Just had vol bid back into high of day here.
Important if the Russell can hold that 35 on rebid. Which it looks like it wants. Need to see if they can maintain it. It's your FEG edge.
Has the book kind of felt like this most of the day, or was it a lot quicker earlier?
It's been pretty slow, but this is definitely a change of speed the last 30 minutes. But it looks like you're about to get some acceleration.
Yeah,
Definitely
the
a buyer
range looked
trying.
good.
Yeah. think if you get a pushback over 13s on ES, then you get movement. That holds.
Yeah, I should like trade to the highs, honestly.
Yep.
At least 15.
That delta hold that, the hold at the 2035 is really important on Russell here. All right, I am out. I think I am going to enjoy the rest of my day and not sit here for no reason. Let me know if you need
Alright.
anything. Peace, man.
Sign up for war.
True. Okay. Later.
Goodbye.
For those on YouTube, if you could throw us a like and a subscribe if you're not on the stream, that'd be really appreciated. I will be back here tomorrow at like 9:30, 10ish. Just at open around that time. But yeah. The link for joining for free is not working. Joining for free. Are you talking about joining the Discord? Are you looking for a working Discord link, Zach? The first link. Oh, in the description? Let me check. First link. Oh, true. That page is no longer... doesn't link to our freemium. Let me make a note of that real quick. Thank you. Give me a second. Okay, I have someone looking into it. I appreciate you saying something. That should not be the case. But if you want to join, look at this link. That'll give you free flow and access to like our free chat and live flow and all of that stuff. And then I will get that link fixed for you for tomorrow's session. Sound good? Yep. All right. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Good luck with the rest of your trading.